It's like outstanding heart, effort, desire, shape in attack. We talked about England's lack of shape at times. The shape in attack and the understanding of how to play and the energy in the team was poles apart from what we've seen under Warren Gatland, right?
Yeah, I think you're always going to have a bit of a, it's like anything, isn't it? Like you see all the time in Premier League football, a new manager generally comes in or a new guy comes in, and you get a bit of a bounce and a bit of energy sort of thing. But I agree with you, Goody. There was tons of energy, tons of endeavour, etc. But like I don't think effort and boys not trying was being the problem the last 12 months. I actually think that they actually played some really good rugby and threw some shapes at Ireland, didn't they? They were clever early doors in terms of they played a lot off 10 to sort of make the pitch. They didn't want to give Ireland too many big edges to go and smash and bring that line speed. So they looked at lots of short plays, sort of hit off 10, then looked to bring a forward runner off 9, just to sort of throw as much shape at the Ireland defence as possible to stop their line speed, look to take short sides, and just they didn't give Ireland anything to hit early doors, which allowed Wales just to grow into the game, get Thomas Williams having lots of touches, Gareth Ansome getting lots of touches. Maxwell, I thought, was excellent when he came in as well. They moved the point of attack just maybe an extra channel and just flooded that channel with traffic. And look, it may not have always come off and it may not have been line breaks, but there was intent there. The shape was there. And like I said, Matt Sherratt said they only trained, I think it was 3 sessions in the week. And he actually said he was surprised how much of the training week they got on the pitch. So that's huge credit to the staff, but it's also huge credit to the coaches for taking that on board and applying it. And I think I said this, the last thing you want to be doing is applauding people for doing well and coming up short, etc. But I think on Saturday that was as good as we could have hoped for as a Welsh nation, in terms of nobody really expected us or Wales to get over the line against Ireland, and probably people thought it was going to be a lot not as close. But I thought that they put some real sort of pride back in that shirt and gave the Welsh public and a lot of people a lot more reasons to be positive going into that match in Scotland rather than what we've seen probably the last 12 months.
And that's what I tweeted after. I said it felt like a Wales win. I said that genuinely. And then I thought, is that just me that thinks that? Then I saw Sam Warburton talking about how happy he was after, because this could have been 50, 60 points. If this would have carried on in the vein in which it was. And then in the week, we were wondering, right, Gareth Anscombe, does he come back in? Does Max Owen come back in? And it just looked like Biggs from the minute the coverage started on BBC and you saw the energy in the closed roof stadium. It felt like years of old. And that's a more an emotional, very superficial thing to say. But then you saw a bit of see you next Tuesday about the way they went about it, the scrum, the physicality around the breakdown. Defensively, they look connected. And yeah, there's a number of things that kind of went their way. The Ireland made a few errors and stuff like that, but you saw a heartbeat within that Wales team. And I think for anyone as a casual, but also a guy that genuinely does want Wales to do well, that's all you can ask for.
Rugby Pod fans, we need to give a massive shout out to AG1 for sponsoring today's video. Did you know that AG1 has just become the official daily nutrition supplement partner to England Rugby? It makes sense. AG1 is trusted by some of the world's top athletes, and now they're backing the England Rugby lads. AG1 is a daily health drink with over 70 vitamins, minerals and other ingredients. I take it first thing in the morning, 1 scoop, once a day, and it gives my body everything I need. What I've been most impressed with is how it's boosted my focus and energy. I can be sat researching and editing for hours on end working on our podcasts, so trying to fit that around training myself and still having energy left at the end of the day to play with the kids can be tough. But AG1 has really helped me with this. The lads would say I'm a simple man, and they're right. Nutrition can seem complicated, but with AG1, all I need to know is 1 scoop, once a day, and I'm giving my body what it needs. Want to give it a shot? Subscribe now and get a free bottle of vitamin D3 and 5 free travel packs with your first subscription. Just head to drinkag1.com/therugbypod.
You make a good point there, Jim, that Ireland made a lot of errors and they were uncharacteristically poor. But I think we've laid in maybe a bit strong, but we've certainly criticised the Welsh team, staff, etc. for over the last 12, 14 games, whatever it's been. But Ireland were forced into pressure into mistakes on the weekend. I thought Wales sort of got stuck into it, made it a bit of a scrap early doors. They were accurate. They put Ireland under pressure, and I think that's more credit to them. And we should definitely give them a huge shout out for how positive they were. I thought Gareth Anscombe was excellent. I thought him and Thomas Williams on the weekend were really, really good because they managed the team's energy. They weren't wasting tons of energy in the back end of their pitch. When they threw attacking shapes at Ireland, they were doing it in the right areas, and they weren't wasting their time by doing it 40 meters from their own try line. They were doing it 40 meters from Ireland's try line or 22 meters from Ireland's try line, and then Ireland coughed up a few penalties. And I just thought that those two in particular managed the teams out, knew when to run, knew when to kick, knew when to have a go. And that's probably one point I would say. I actually thought when Gareth Anscombe went off, that last sort of phase of play where Prendergast has kicked the last penalty to take it to 9 points. I think there's still 4 minutes on the clock there. It's a 6-point game. I think if Gareth Anscombe's on the pitch there, Wales kick that ball and they give themselves a shot of victory. And I'm not saying they win the game, but they've probably overplayed for the first time in the game. And if they probably just stick to what they were doing so well in that game, they give themselves a shot, and they maybe don't get that final penalty, which Sam Prendergast nails and takes the game away from them. But they should be really, really proud of that. The shapes they threw at Ireland, I thought Ellis Mee on debut was so good and really.
Where's he come from?
He's playing for Nottingham in the Champo.
That a boy, my old club.
Last year he was playing for Nottingham in the Champo.
There you go. Well, it just shows you, because the team selection, right, and you're looking at Ellis Mee come in and he looks like a young lad. He is a young lad. And you're thinking, this is obviously a big deal for Matt Sherratt, and picking the players that he did, and Ellis Mee's probably the big one out of that. But some of the other selections as well, like Nicky Smith. Why am I fucking struggling to say their names for? Maybe because they're not rolling off. Wycliffe Jean as well.
Wycliffe Jean.
How good was he, by the way?
How good's his moustache, by the way? You've got to be the best one.
He actually looked. If you were to say, what do you want your pump to look like, it would be him. But just to name a few, and probably not doing them enough justice, where Wales have struggled is in around the set piece. But I think Matt Sherratt understanding now that the foundations of building a team or starting again is you get your set piece right, and that had a massive influence on the game for how Wales started. They got the rub of the green until Nicky Smith went off and did his HIA, which he wasn't very happy about, and the line-out functioned as well. So you get them things in place, and their defence. Biggs, am I right in saying yes? That there was a load of things in attack that you mentioned there, but their defence, they looked more connected in what they were doing. It just felt so much better.
Yeah, 100%. And they were sort of making Ireland's ball a little bit slower. Clearly there was times where Ireland had speed of ball and they caused Wales problems. But Ireland are an exceptionally good attacking team, so they're always going to have spells. But they just looked more connected. They looked like they had a bounce about them, and that's the one thing I will say. I think it's really important that this can't just be the effect of a new coach now. They've had a brilliant start under Matt with the roof shut at the Principality Stadium. The atmosphere was incredible. It was almost like you had to get up for that game because you're playing who you're playing as well. So what can't happen now from this group is that you go to Edinburgh in a couple of weeks' time and you go back to the performances that perhaps we'd seen in the last 12 months. So I think that's really important, that it's not just a one-off now. This has to be built on. And they have to really sort of target maybe a victory in the last two games, whether it's against Scotland, which will be incredibly tough, or at home against England in the Principality.
I think when you look at it, right, and you look at what Matt Sherratt's done, he's picked players on form in positions that they're playing, right? So he's picked his best props for scrimmage and set piece. The thing that you talked about then, Jim, he's picked Anscombe at 10 because he's a 10. He's put Thomas to 12 where he plays regularly, and he's made Llewellyn at 13. And he's made sensible decisions about the best players that he's got in each position. He's gone and got two fetchers, Rafael and Jack Morgan at 6 and 7, going after the breakdown and being physical around that and slowing Ireland's ball down. And they were effective, and he's done a great job. But the thing I feel a little bit sorry for Wales for, and I am a quarter Welsh, and so I also love the Irish, but this is the problem with rugby union. Gary Ringrose, if he is getting a 20-minute red card, and we saw what happened, Bundy Aki comes on and monsters the game and makes a massive difference. Any other game of rugby at the minute, that is a straight red card and he's gone for the rest of the game. Yeah, in rugby union, we've got the Six Nations playing with a bunker and a 20-minute red, and the leagues that these lads are playing in, so the URC, the Prem, the Champions Cup and all that stuff, it's a straight red card. And that's, to me, I thought Wales were hard done by. He gets red carded fully for the game, which I think he deserved to get. And I think, we're trying to get these tackles out of the game, but the 20-minute red card, it just shows that it's not enough of an impact on a team. That was where, had that had gone through as a full red and not a 20-minute red, and Bundyaki doesn't come on, you're looking at Wales potentially winning that game.
That's where we're different, because I thought that was a 20-minute red card, and that's what I mean. And that's not me just wanting to go against you to try and build up a conversation around it. I thought Ben Thomas stepped back at him in the very last second, and that's what it felt like. It felt, and there was a few head-on-heads. Carl Rowe got one as well, which you could have argued in the Scotland game could have been a yellow card if you looked at some of the stuff we've seen at the weekend. But that did have a big effect, because you saw how well Wales were playing and what Bundyaki, like you said, did when he came on.
Well, for me, it's like the reason, I know there is a slight change of direction by Thomas, but Ringrose has chosen to fly out the line ahead of the defensive line, and so he's got it wrong himself, and he's actively made that decision, which has led to the head-on-head collision. And that's what I thought World Rugby were trying to do: get those tackles out the game, where it's someone flying out the line and creating a head collision. When actually, if you stay connected, or I'm not saying you shouldn't have line speed, but the fact that he's gone there with force and picked out a man and gone and smacked him in the head. And that's where I feel a bit sorry for Wales. They're playing in the league where it's a red card and it's off the rest of the game. And then the Six Nations, it's a bunker and it's a 20-minute red. And that's where rugby union is at the minute, all over the shop with different things.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's stay positive with Ireland. They made a load of changes before the game. It was great to see Dan Sheehan as captain. I thought Mac Hansen played really well. I thought Jack Conan played really well until he came off. Joe McCarthy came back into the team. I think everything's going to be around Sam Prendergast, and you lads are better to talk about it than me. I actually thought he played really well again. 4 penalty kicks, managed the game really well. His 50-22 that he did, it just feels as if he's in a bit of his groove now, looks comfortable. But Biggs, you tell me. Andrew, you tell me.
I think what I like about Sam Prendergast is he is far from the finished article by any stretch of the imagination. And he does make a few errors. There's no dispute in that. But he brings so many good moments. And on the weekend, at the end of the day, he's kicked 4, certainly 2 of them longer range penalties. I didn't actually realize how long his place kick was.
He strikes a ball, that kid, doesn't he? Strikes a ball.
The Principality Stadium is not a small pitch. And he had, with that one from about 49, he had sort of 4 or 5 meters left on it. But what I like about Sam Prendergast is he's involved in big moments in the games. You look at the first 3 games, he's involved in running the shape. He's involved in big kicks. He's involved in try assists. And that 50-22 on the weekend changed the course of the game as well, in terms of shifted the momentum for Ireland. And then, yes, he puts one out on the full 10 minutes later or whatever. But what I like about him is he's got that ability to not worry and not get flustered if he makes mistakes, but also have big impacts on games. And as he gets better and as he gets older, and the more he plays, even next week or the week after, or every game he plays for Leinster, he'll understand, and his errors will come down, and the influence he'll have on games will grow and grow, especially when you're playing in a team as good as Ireland and a team as good as Leinster. It's a perfect scenario for him to just grow and grow and grow.
Yeah, he managed it really well. 18-10 down, and without being a flash, like making line breaks or whatever, he just controlled his forward pack. And it was just managing the field. And Biggs, you know what it's like in these games around. Sometimes it's not about doing the flash stuff, but it's putting your team in the right position. Prendergast kicked his goal. He kicks like a dream. Like, I know he did put, like you said, he put one straight out. But how many fly-offs do you know now are doing the spirals that, and he hits them so sweetly. And then you watch his goal kick in, it's just so natural. And he looks like, it's Gav Ensign said on Friday night, didn't he? He was calling out Prendergast saying he looks like a 14-year-old kid playing rugby. I'm like, no. His legs aren't massive, but my God, can he strike a ball? Defensively, he's got a load of work on. So, like, you saw the try from Tom Rogers that was a worldie of a finish. That actually comes from a Prendergast drop ball. And then phase play goes on, and then he gets absolutely rinsed, doesn't he, by Murray with the Maisie run. And so defensively, teams are going to go after him. But with age and a bit of bulk and, probably playing with Bundyaki, just make him make the tackles for you, because he tackles with his face and everything. But there is that kind of work on for him.
Andrew, Yeah, so with that, and I picked up that early on, and there's two things that I've seen with him where I know he's going to be all right. One is his size, and I was stood next to him because he's definitely a 6'4". I was like, there's no chance, right? He's 6'4". Then the other thing is actually watching how, when I saw Jack Morgan run over him and Ollie Lawrence in the game against England, where he fucking absolutely annihilated him and he got back up. And I think also with Ireland, you think about the 10s previously playing. Johnny Sexton weren't an amazing tackler. Roden O'Gara weren't an amazing tackler either. So it's always been a thing. Isn't it quite funny when you think about it like that? Ireland's two greatest 10s were more ball players as opposed to tackling. But we now know, especially as Bundy Aki's about 46 and probably ain't got much longer. Talk for him going to Toulon.
He's got about 10 years left, Bundy. Don't forget he's from
the way that
Pacific Islands, so he's only 22.
What about the state of him after the game? That is a warrior. He was only on for, what was he on for? 20 minutes, half an hour? And he comes off like that. But look, Sam Prendergast, that's natural what happens. We're going to talk about him. It's Ireland, one of the best teams in the world. And he's the young buck at 10, the rookie who is performing well in the Six Nations, and they're still favourites, aren't they, for the Grand Slam?
It's a bit of a shit question, lads, but how do you think Gats felt watching that?
Oh,
do you think he did watch it?
Absolute shithouse. Warren, how are you?
I don't know. It's always hard. It's like one of them when you get dropped, right? And regardless, I don't care, Biggs, you might be very different to me and Goody and all my mates that I know. When you get dropped, there is a part of you. There is. It's human nature and instinct that you're like, fuck, I kind of want the boys to win, but fuck, I hope they play shit. You know, that's naturally a part of it. I don't care what anyone says. Anyone I've spoke to says that. Go on, Biggs, you tell me then, you're still playing.
It's human nature, isn't it? It's like anything, whether not just if you're a rugby player, you know, if you work in an office or, you know, whatever, anything. I just think that, like I said earlier, I think that it's the effect of just Matt could be saying the exact same things, which I think he's changed one or two bits and pieces, but, you know, sometimes just a new voice, you know, like I said, maybe some fresh ideas, and you get a bit of a bounce out of the group, and I think that's only natural. I think what's more important and what will define, not so much define Matt, but will be judged on a little bit more, is how do they then, off the back of a fallow week. I know that Wales are losing a lot of players because a lot of them are based in England. They're going to go back to their clubs. But how can they build on that for the last 2 weeks of the Six Nations, and not just use this as a new bounce and, you know, a new coach coming in, etc. for this performance? I think it has to be a stepping stone now.
Biggs, it'll be interesting to see what they do with the new tenure, whether or not they change the eligibility rule, because Daffy Jenkins is going to be out of contract. Chatting to Joe Hawkins at Exeter, he made his debut. I think he won. Played for Wales, I think, beat England or beat Ireland. There was a big game that he was involved in that they won, and then never played again. And that was it. So it was. Do you know what I mean? So if you've got players like Chris Chinzer, Daffy Jenkins playing outside of Wales, whether they actually relax everything with how the game is over there.
Well, I think almost like, you know, Gats stepping away, moving away, you know, being removed, whatever it was. That almost probably felt like the easy decision for the WRU. Whereas the next decisions would be the really big ones, whether it's, you know, 4 regions or 3 regions or 2 regions, whether it's scrapping the 25 cap rule, whether it's refunding, remodeling, etc. That's what, you know, Gats was quite rightly judged on winning games of rugby for Wales for the senior team. But the people at the top of the WRU now will be judged on what decisions they make next, and whether that's the cap rule, whether that's the regions, you know, whatever it is. Those are the big decisions to make now.
It's interesting. I was messaging Matt Sherratt on Saturday as I was on the way to Twickenham. So he was on the bus on the way to the game. And I know him from my days at Worcester. He's a great bloke. I said it last week. But I was messaging him saying, mate, get the victory today. The job is yours. He's like, no. I'm crawling back under my rock at Cardiff in 3 weeks' time. So, but
why is he saying that?
Show me the money. I'm going to get him on the podcast. And ask him. But
all right, cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of them that he's openly said it in the press, hasn't he, that he doesn't want the job. But then you get a little taste.
But after the
You get a little
weekend,
taste of it like
exactly.
that.
You're there at the weekend, and that stadium was absolutely
Yeah.
banging. And you could see he was there with his coffee just after half time. It looked right for him. It looked, you've got Adam Jones next to you, you've got Reece Thomas as well in the coaching team. It's a shot to nothing, and you've done that against one of the best teams in the world. You're telling me he's come away from that thinking, "No, I'm going to go back to Cardiff and play against the Dragons at Christmas."
I don't know. It's hard, isn't it? But like, when he's messaging me, he's obviously on the bus. I was like, I've got a friend. And he went on, and they were awesome, weren't they? And he obviously had a big impact. Like Big said, Abby Tierney, you've got some questions to answer around who you're after, because imagine they do well against Scotland. I actually sit there now and I look at that Wales performance, and England have got to go there in round 5. And you look at the England performance, and yes, we won, but how we performed, Wales might even be favourites for that game.
Well, on that there, if you're a Welsh player or a fan, what would be the 2 games that you'd want? You'd probably want Scotland away. And I know Wales have struggled over the last couple of years, but you'd want Scotland away. And what game would you want at home?
England.
You'd want England, right? So the most emotional game, covered up again, stadium, and that's how you'd want it to unfold. So they've actually got a dream finish emotionally.
Pod.
Rugby pod.